Good day. Today's lesson is going to be, we're going to look at some things from a tuning option to make MainView SRM from a collection standpoint run more efficiently. There are several ways to do this. One is in the policies and how data collection is done through a policy for volume and pool and for data set collection. So let's take a look at our policies. So let's start with the add mem A view. All right, this gives us a list of all of our active members, and we're going to look at our policy definitions. So we're going to right click on the SMPOL I00 member. We're going to edit this member so we can pull up all of our policy definitions. And we have BMC default 1. So we're going to look at this one first. We're going to update the policy. We'll do the policy intervals. So this brings up our intervals. We should have 3 of them. So we have 1 for DSBS, which is our collection type, and then 2 for pool. So this is our data set. We have 2 for pool. 1 is for automation only. So it's monitoring the volumes and pools in this particular policy definition. And then we have 1 that's logging. So let's update this one for logging. We're going to update the interval. And we're going to demonstrate the options that we can select when we build a policy. This would have been in one of our earlier lessons when we were building policies. So we go through and we have our pool and volume space. So we're going to do that. We're going to log it. This is the system. It's every 2 hours. But down here at the very, very bottom of our selection criteria, we have how often do you want to run a full scan? We can do always or never, or we can do every certain number of intervals. So the difference here is in a full scan, SRM does its collection. A VTOC scan is executed. VTOC scan is used to do both volume and pool and for data sets. The difference between the two is that in a partial scan, the VTOC scan process does not calculate the granular data set information. It only looks at the pool and the volume information from a VTOC standpoint to look at thresholds, look at how much space is allocated, how much space is used, how much space is free, percent, does some other calculations for high watermarks, low watermarks, how many volumes are in the storage group or the pool, how many VTOCs are indexed, information like that. Very, very high level, but doesn't calculate the data set information. So there's a couple of different views that show this storage group information, this pool information. So if we select never, this will increase the runtime or decrease the runtime for the data collection. This could be an 80% decrease in elapsed runtime and up to a 40 to 50, maybe even a 60% decrease in the amount of CPU that's consumed when we do a volume and pool collection. So the difference is we're going to cancel out of this. So what you have is this information is written to our detailed space databases, and then the data set information, which is the same process, is actually written to our VTOC scan master file. So the views that come out is an SP pool view. This is our view for volumes and pools. We've seen this. So there's our list of volumes and pools when we collected the data, a percent full, total space. Now I've customized this view so that I have some colorings in here to signify percentages full. But if I scroll over, you'll see all of the columns are in blue. So this is the stuff that's actually calculated, even with a partial scan. If I continue on, I get all the way over here to the actual data set information. These are actually in yellow. They're listing zeros because I've never run a full scan for this particular type of process. So these show up as zeros, but this will show up as a gold and with a number in there because it actually does reference an older execution that was run. All right. So if you don't need this information in this view, then there's no reason to run it. Most people are looking at this particular view only for this information. So these columns right here. Subsequently, I have another view called VSG stat. VSG stat actually comes from the VTOC scan master file, which is for your data set collection, but it's data sets. It does contain information similar to what's done in the space reports because it's the same process. As you can see, now this one hasn't been customized to give thresholds, and it does have some other pools, some SRM defined pools that are not in the SP pool view, because you see that I have 40 pools and storage groups here, whereas in SP pool, I only have 31. All right, so we'll scroll back to the top, one of 31. VSG stat has 40. All right, but I still have a volume count. I still have an allocated space, so I know exactly how much space is being used from a percentage standpoint. I have my total space, free space, DSTBs. But if I continue over and I continue all the way over, now because it's a full scan, it does give that data set granular information. It does compute everything at the data set level. So I do get values for idle space, DSN count, how much is partition, how much is physical sequential, VSAM, non-VSAM, and so on. So I can get this information, whereas the data set collection generally is only run once a day because it's a little bit of overhead. Because of it's a full scan, it is calculating all of this data set information. But because I've got multiple policies, I'm only collecting the data set information for this particular policy definition. So only the data sets for these volumes and pools in this policy, which is a much smaller subset of the whole environment. So if you were to use partial scan versus full scan, you will see tremendous benefits in elapsed runtimes for your policies, which allows you to run monitoring and automation and data collection for your volumes and pools for trending data. Because remember, we're going to be storing this information, so you can actually run more collections for trending data using a partial scan versus a full scan, thereby uh, benefiting from a lower runtime. Thank you.